In the year 2130, a group of human explorers landed on a planet no one dared to visit, Cylon 5. It floated alone at the edge of the galaxy, covered in black clouds and endless silence. For thousands of years, alien records had one clear message. No ship ever returned from Cylon 5. The planet was cursed, they said. Dead. A place where even machines gave up. But humans, known for their bravery, or maybe their foolishness, didn't listen. They wanted to prove they were different. The way? Crew of 7 landed with confidence. They laughed at the old alien stories. They set up camp near the remains of a long-lost alien station. The air was cold but breathable. The ground was solid. The sky above them was always dark, but the stars were bright. Everything seemed fine. Their leader, Commander Ray, recorded a message to Earth. No danger so far. Looks like the aliens were just scared of shadows. Everyone laughed when she said it, but the shadows were listening. On the first night, strange things started to happen. The lights inside the base flickered, though the power levels were stable. The air began to hum, a low, constant sound, like something deep underground was breathing. Private Juno couldn't sleep. He heard voices in his head, soft whispers calling his name. He thought it was just stress. But when he asked the others in the morning, they had heard whispers too. Different words, different voices. Lieutenant Banks tried to scan the area, but the computers kept crashing. Too much interference, he said. But there were no storms, no radiation spikes, no reason for anything to fail. Still, the equipment wouldn't work. And the shadows. They had started to move. At first, it was small, shapes shifting at the edge of vision. Something crawling along the walls, gone when the light hit it. Dr. Hera, the science officer, checked the footage from the security cameras. There were blank spots, seconds missing, like someone, or something, had erased them. That night, Private Juno screamed in his sleep. When the others rushed to his room, they found him standing in the corner, eyes wide open, whispering nonsense. He didn't move, didn't blink. His skin was ice cold, and his eyes, they were no longer blue. They were black. Completely black, like there was no soul left inside him. Commander Ray locked him in the med room. Maybe it's a mental breakdown, she said. But no one believed that. Not really. While Ray and Banks argued about what to do, the base's communication system picked up a strange signal. It was human. A voice. Broken. Weak. It repeated only one sentence. Don't trust the others. They're not human anymore. Though, crew stared at each other in silence. The voice was shaking, afraid. And it was clear. It was not from anyone inside the base. They tried to trace the signal, but the system crashed again. Dr. Hera went back to check on Juno, but he was gone. The med room was empty. The cameras showed nothing, only a black shadow sliding across the floor, vanishing near the wall. Where the shadow passed, the metal had melted. That night, no one slept. The crew stayed together in the control room, weapons ready, lights bright. But the lights started flickering again. The hum returned, louder this time. More voices came through. The walls calling out names, laughing, crying. Then silence, cold, heavy silence. Private Kellen, the youngest of them, stood up slowly and walked to the door. I see her, he whispered. My sister. She's outside. Commander Ray grabbed his arm. Your sister died on Mars. But he didn't listen. He opened the door and stepped into the black fog. The door slammed shut behind him. They never saw him again. Panic set in. The crew was now 5. The planet was no longer quiet. It was alive, watching, waiting. The next morning they found words, scratched into the metal wall near the door. No one had carved them. No tool marks, no fingerprints. Just 3 words, burned deep into the steel. You are next. And from the corner of the base, deep in the static of the broken radio, the Same human voice came again, but this time, it laughed. The crew woke up to silence. Private Kellen was gone. Still no signal, still no trace. His suit, his comms, everything, just gone. Commander Ray called an emergency meeting. "This is no longer a science mission," she said. "We're in danger. We stay together. No one goes outside." Lieutenant Banks locked the base from inside. They checked all security feeds. All showed static, except one camera, just one. It showed Kellen, standing outside the base, barefoot, smiling. He was looking straight at the camera, though there was no way he could see it. Then the feed cut out. Dr. Hara said what everyone was thinking. That's not Kellen anymore. That night they heard scratching, soft, slow, on the outer walls of the base. But when they checked, nothing was there. No footprints, no sign of life. Hours later, the crew heard a loud crash from the lab. They ran in. Private Lennox was dead, lying on the ground, face frozen in terror. No blood, no wounds. His mouth wide open, like he saw something horrible. Right before he died. His body was stiff, cold, but then it started to change. His fingernails turned to gray stone. His skin cracked like dry earth. His eyes were missing. They checked the security footage again. Nothing, just static. Then a strange image, half a second long. A tall black figure with arms too long standing behind Lennox before he died. It had no face. Banks paused the frame. But when they looked closer, the figure was standing inside the base. Suddenly, the power flickered. The radio turned on by itself. A new signal came through. It was Kellen's voice. But it sounded wrong, slower, echoing. He said, "We're part of it now. You will be too." The crew tried to contact Earth, but the signal wouldn't go through. Instead, they got a message back, not from Earth, but from something else. Just 3 words. "You are home." Commander Ray screamed at Banks. "Shut it down, now," but the screen stayed on. New text appeared on the screen, typing by itself. Down. 5 to go. That night, they couldn't sleep. Not because of the fear, but because the shadows inside the base were moving, even when there was no one there, and the air began to whisper their names one by one. The crew was down to 5. Private Kellen was missing. Lennox was dead. And now, the base didn't feel safe anymore. No one slept. They sat together in the control room, weapons ready, eyes wide. Dr. Hara kept hearing a song, soft music coming from the vents. She asked, "Do you hear that piano?" But no one else did. Lieutenant Banks heard something different. A baby crying. But he had no children. Each crew member was hearing something personal, something no one else could hear. Commander Ray realized the planet wasn't just killing them. It was getting into their minds. Later that day, the power failed again. Emergency lights turned red. Private Isa ran into the hall screaming. She said, "I saw my mother. She was standing in the hallway." But her mother had died years ago. On Earth. Security camera footage showed Isa walking into the hallway alone. Then she stopped. She stared at something the camera couldn't see. She said one word. "Mama?" Then the lights blinked, and she vanished. Just gone. Dr. Hara locked herself in the lab. She kept repeating, "It's not real, it's not real, it's not real." She started drawing symbols on the walls using her own blood. Banks and Ray broke down the door. Hara didn't even look at them. She was smiling, eyes wide. She said, "It's inside all of us now." Then, she stabbed herself in the neck with a broken test tube. They tried to save her. Too late. Blood everywhere. Symbols glowing faintly on the wall. One symbol looked like an eye. It seemed to move. Now only 3 humans were left. Commander Ray, Lieutenant Banks, and Technician Sora. They decided to check the black box. a small drive storing the ship's entire mission data. But when they opened it, it was filled with sand, black sand. Like the kind found only on the, surface of the planet, Banks whispered. This isn't just a cursed planet, Ray asked. Then what is it? Sora answered quietly. It's alive. That night the whispers got louder. They didn't sound like voices anymore. They sounded like thoughts, their own thoughts, used against them. Commander Ray dreamt of fire, a burning earth. A voice whispered, You brought it with you. She woke up screaming. Banks was gone. They found him outside, barefoot just like Kellen. He looked up at the sky, arms open. Then something pulled him into the ground. No scream, no sound. Just gone. Only 2 left now, and the whispers were louder than ever. Now only 2 crew members were alive. Commander Ray, Technician Sora, both tired, both afraid. The base was quiet. Too quiet. The whispers had stopped, but the silence felt worse. They had one idea left: escape. But the ship's systems were dead. Every engine melted. The metal was soft, like it had been digested. So they began to dig, looking for cables, tools, anything buried near the landing zone. They dug in the soft black soil behind the base. Not far down, they hit something hard. It wasn't rock, it was a door, a round stone slab with symbols carved into it, symbols like the ones Dr. Hera had drawn in blood. Sora said, This wasn't part of the alien station. Ray replied, This was buried long before we came. They pushed the door open. It led to a tunnel carved deep underground. They followed it. It was cold. The walls were smooth, but breathing, slowly moving in and out. Like lungs. At the end of the tunnel was a round chamber inside, skulls. Hundreds of them, alien, animal, insect, but one was human. Ray picked it up. It was real, old, dusty, but it looked exactly like a modern human skull. How is this possible? Sora asked. Humans never came here before. Carved into the wall behind the skulls were more words, not in alien language but in English. They read, We brought them here. They stayed. They changed. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. A deep voice echoed through the cave, not through ears but through their minds. It said, You are the last. The walls began to bleed. Thick, black liquid poured down the stone, covering the skulls. One of the skulls moved. It turned slowly toward Ray, then another, and another. The ground shook. The tunnel behind them started closing. Sora screamed, We have to run! They ran back as the tunnel collapsed behind them, black sand pouring from the cracks. They made it out, barely. The stone door sealed itself shut. Back at the base, everything had changed. Lights stayed off. All windows were covered in black fog. The air was colder, and written on the control room wall, in the same black liquid. You were always meant to be here, Ray whispered. They didn't just die here. They became part of it. Sora sat down, shaking. He asked, How do we leave a planet that's alive? The screen turned on by itself. A single image appeared, their own faces, but older, staring, smiling. Only Commander Ray and Technician Sora were left. They had seen death, shadows, and things that should not exist. Now they knew the truth. The planet was alive, and it didn't want them to leave. That night they sealed the base as best they could. They blocked every vent, every crack. But deep inside, they both knew it wouldn't help. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the base lights turned on by themselves. Not red, not white, but blue. Cold, flickering blue. The security cameras turned back on. Ray checked the screens. Outside, someone was standing in the fog. Tall, thin, long arms. glowing white eyes. Sora gasped. That's Kellen. But it wasn't. The thing outside had his body, but the face wasn't right. Too wide. The smile stretched too far. The head tilted in a slow, jerking motion, like a puppet. And then, another figure stepped beside it. It looked like Dr. Hera, and behind her, Lennox, Issa, Banks, all of them. Standing, watching. Ray whispered, "They're not dead." Sora replied, "They're not human anymore." Suddenly, the base doors made a loud click. They were unlocking. By themselves. The intercom turned on. A voice spoke. It was deep, slow, familiar. It said, "Let them in." Ray screamed, "Shut it down." Sora rushed to the controls, but they wouldn't respond. The voice came again. "We miss you. We want you back." Sora grabbed a wrench and smashed the control panel. Silence. But then, the door opened. Fog poured inside. And so did the shadows. The blue lights blinked. The hallway filled with cold. Sora raised his weapon but froze. He saw his younger brother standing in the fog. His brother had died in a crash 5 years ago. Now he stood there, smiling, reaching out his hand. Sora stepped forward. Ray grabbed his arm. "No, that's not real." But Sora looked into her eyes and whispered, "What if it is?" He walked into the fog. The door closed behind him. Now, only Ray remained. She locked herself in the supply room. She cried, shaking, alone. Or so she thought. From the corner of the dark room, a voice whispered in her ear, "You don't have to run anymore. You belong to us." And then, a hand touched her shoulder. Commander Ray turned around fast, but no one was there. The cold hand that touched her shoulder, gone. Just air, but she could still feel the fingers, still cold, still pressing. The supply room light flickered, then died. Ray turned on her flashlight. The beam shook in her hand, and in front of her, a wall that didn't exist before. It had a door, metal, with a strange symbol on it, a circle with a black eye in the center. She hadn't seen this room before, and yet, she remembered it. Somehow, deep in her mind, she knew what was behind that door. She opened it. Inside was a small, round chamber. Empty. Except for one thing. A chair, straps on the arms, a helmet above it filled with wires, and words carved into the floor. To remember is to become. She stepped closer. The walls began to whisper, not in alien voices, but in her voice. It said, "Sit down. You've been here before." Suddenly, a memory flashed in her head. She saw herself, not as a commander, not on this mission, but as a test subject, strapped to the same chair, screaming. Doctors around her, not human. Tall, pale, with no eyes. They injected her with something dark, and the last thing she remembered was the words, "We send them back to see who survives." She fell to her knees. Tears ran down her face. "They didn't just land here by accident," she whispered. "We were sent here as part of something bigger." Behind her, the chair moved. The helmet dropped. It was waiting. She stood up, turned away, but the whispers got louder. She ran back through the base. Rooms had changed. Walls were now pulsing like skin. Doors were gone. The halls led in circles. She found Sora's voice echoing in the vents. "You left me." I was right, it was my brother. And then laughter, not Sora's. Something older. Ray fell to the floor, covering her ears. But the sound came from inside her head. Then everything stopped. A screen lit up on the wall. A countdown. 02:34. Below it, final phase. Merge. Ray stood up, breathing heavy. The base was no longer just a building, it was becoming part of her. Her skin started to itch. Her hands shook. Her heartbeat echoed in the walls. She whispered to herself, "I have to destroy this place before it finishes changing me." But behind her, a door opened, and she heard her own voice say, "You're already too late." The countdown kept ticking. 2:34, 0:02:13, 0:01:58. Commander Ray ran through the twisted base. The walls were changing, melting. Some looked like flesh, others like stone. Some were mirrors, not glass mirrors, memory mirrors. Every time Ray passed one, she saw herself, not just now, but from the past. One mirror showed her as a child, scared, hiding under a desk. Another showed her training as a young soldier. Another showed her strapped to the same chair from Part 6. And in every mirror, the black-eyed figure stood behind her, watching, smiling. The base shook. The countdown reached 0:01. Ray made it to the engine core. It was barely working, half-eaten by the black sand. But there was one emergency feature still alive: self-destruct. She hesitated. Once she pushed that button, it was over. No way out. No escape pod. She whispered, "Maybe that's the only way to win." Her hand moved toward the trigger. Then she heard a voice, not outside, inside her skull. It said, "You are not a visitor. You are one of us. You always were." Suddenly the walls turned black. A door opened behind her, and there stood Sora. His eyes were gone, his skin pale. He smiled wide and wrong, but he still sounded like himself. He said, "Don't fight it, Commander. We survived because we changed." Ray pointed her weapon. "Sora's dead," she said. He stepped closer. "Maybe. Maybe not. But you don't have to die. Just let go." Behind him, the others appeared. Kellen, Issa, Hara, Banks, Lennox. Their faces twisted, but peaceful, like they weren't in pain. They all spoke together. "Become part of us." Ray backed into the console. The countdown was at 17. Her hand hovered over the trigger. The voices screamed inside her, not words now, just pressure, pain. Her nose started to bleed. She screamed back, "I'd rather die human," and hit the button. Boom. White light. Screaming metal. A huge shockwave, and then silence, cut to black, but not for long. Sometime later, a rescue signal picks up on Earth. It's weak, corrupted, but one word keeps repeating: home, home, home. The signal is traced back to the dead planet, but the planet is no longer dead. It glows faintly red, and something is moving beneath its surface. Waiting. 6 months after the last transmission, Earth received a signal again. Clearer this time, it repeated only 2 words: "Come back." The source? The dead planet. The one no species ever survived. Except humans. A second research ship was sent. New crew, new tech, armed with everything Earth had learned. Their mission: find out what happened to Commander Ray and her team. Bring answers. They never found the original base. There were no buildings, no wreckage, no bones, just smooth black sand, stretching for miles. And strange symbols burned into the ground. Circles, eyes, names. The name Ray was one of them, but something else was there, just beneath the surface. The new crew's equipment picked up movement, heartbeat signals, but not from one person, from hundreds. They dug, just like Ray once did, and they found something. The chair, still clean, still glowing, plugged into the dirt itself like roots. On the back of it, a fresh handprint, human, still warm. One of the new team, Lieutenant Maris, couldn't stop staring at the chair. She said, "It feels familiar." Her teammate asked, "Have you been here before?" She didn't answer. That night she disappeared. The next morning, a message was found scratched onto the inside of the team's shuttle. We never left. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the first team's video logs suddenly appeared in the system. No one uploaded them. They just appeared. One video showed Commander Ray, sitting in the chair, whispering, "The planet isn't alive. It's not just feeding on us. It's remembering us." She looked into the camera, eyes wide, voice calm. She said, "We didn't survive the planet. The planet survived us." The video ended. But one last thing flashed on the screen. So fast, most people missed. In a single frame, a photo. It showed Earth, but with the same black sand spreading across its oceans. And from deep under that cursed planet, a soft whisper echoed, "Home is coming." 2 years later, the planet is now marked as restricted by Order 7. No contact, no travel. Total quarantine. But one signal never stopped. It came from deep underground, lower than any human has ever gone. The signal has no words, only numbers, repeating every 13 seconds, 01370-137. Earth's top AI decoded it, and what it found shocked the world. The numbers were coordinates, not on the alien planet, but on Earth, a deep cave system in the northern Arctic. No human base was ever built there. But the rock showed something strange. Black sand. A secret team went in. They were never officially recorded. No names. No files. Inside the cave, they found the same door, the same symbols, and the same chair. But this one was older, built from bone, larger and breathing. One of the scientists touched the chair. Instantly, she collapsed, eyes rolled back, mouth whispering something. They came from here. Earth was the first. The footage cut off. Final image. A camera on the ground, facing the cave ceiling. And slowly, one word carved itself into the stone, by no hand at all, awakened. What if the planet wasn't the threat? What if Earth was never the beginning? 1 month after the cave discovery in Part 9, the black sand is spreading, not just on the alien planet, on Earth. It shows up in strange places, in children's drawings, inside closed museum displays, on the ocean floor, where no ship has ever gone. And then, it gets worse. A geologist named Dr. Keel reports a massive energy pulse from deep inside the Earth's crust. Strange because it's the same frequency used by the dead planet signal. Governments silence the report. Too late. The signal plays across every screen in the world. TVs, phones, even dead ones. A voice speaks. Calm. Familiar. This is not your world. This is not your body. We only let you borrow it. People begin to change. Some disappear. Some stand for hours, unmoving, eyes rolled back. Others write symbols on walls, floors, skin, symbols from the first mission. Cut to Antarctica. A deep science lab under ice. Security cameras catch a man walking barefoot in the snow, naked, unharmed by the cold, whispering, "Commander Ray was just the key, I am the door." The man was never on the mission. But DNA confirms he is Sora. Inside his blood, the black sand, alive, replicating. And then comes the final twist. A hidden file appears in Earth's satellite logs, footage from the first human space probe 62 years ago. It shows something Earth forgot. That probe never came back, but on the final frame, it landed on the same cursed planet, long before Ray's mission, and it showed something in the fog. Tall, thin, smiling, not alien. Human. Final screen, a journal page from Commander Ray found floating in space. The page says, "We were the virus. We didn't survive that planet. We spread it.